What's up, y'all, and welcome to the very first episode of CCommentary, the podcast. This is Zoë Huey speaking, and if you're listening to this right now, first of all, I want to say thank you for acknowledging this podcast and taking the time out of your day to listen to it. It's really more than appreciated. If you're unfamiliar with CCommentary, it's a blog that I started on Instagram that you can find at z.commentary. That is at the letter z.commentary on Instagram. And I describe my blog as an A to Z commentary on topics ranging from social and political issues to self-care and pop culture for Generation Z. So since this is just the first episode, I just plan on talking about what made me want to start a podcast and why now all of a sudden, and one of those reasons has to do with this whole coronavirus pandemic that we're in the midst of right now. And I'm also going to touch on my opinions of how the issue is being handled by political leaders and the public as well. So, let's get right into this, guys. Like I said at the beginning, my name is Zoë Huey. I am a student at the illustrious Spelman College studying English and hailing from the Atlanta, Georgia. So, what made me want to start a podcast in the first place? Well, ever since I was young, I've always wanted to have my name and face recognized by the public and be influential in general. So, when I was really young, I thought I wanted to be a triple threat, like a singer, dancer, and actress. And I've always been moderately good at singing and dancing, but after taking a few classes, I realized that acting probably just wasn't for me. So the triple threat dream kind of got spoiled, but after that, I started to become more and more interested in TV show hosts, like the ones on Good Morning America and The Today Show. So, in high school, I finally realized that my ultimate career aspiration is to have my own talk show and to be as big as Oprah one day, and that has been my goal ever since. I figured that studying English and concentrating in journalism or communications will help to get me there, but I also wanted to create something of my own outside of school to help build up my personal portfolio, and so that's how CCommentary, the blog, came to be, and I have to give some credit to my parents for helping to inspire that concept. But before the idea of a blog was even thought of, I had previously considered starting a YouTube channel or a podcast. However, the only thing that stopped me was the whole technical aspect of editing and trimming, and I have no experience in either of those, so I figured that was going to be a huge hurdle for me at the time, so a blog just seemed more realistic. So that's the why in general, but you may be wondering why now, especially since I've been running the CCommentary blog on Instagram for a while now. Well, I have to give some huge credits to two of my good friends, Kennedy and Tyler, for inspiring me to take this on. So the three of us have really good, funny, quality conversation on all sorts of topics that we figured other people might actually enjoy and be entertained by as well. So we've been wanting to start a podcast for the three of us for a few months now, but just haven't gotten around to it. And now that we've been kind of put on house arrest due to this COVID-19, we can't really get anything started until we're able to see each other again, which will likely be months from now, unfortunately. But since I have been in the house with nothing but time on my hands, I figure now is a better time than any to get started with this project that I've wanted to do for so long, and so here I am. So now, let me touch on this whole coronavirus thing for a little bit. It is March 29th, 2020, and we are in the midst of the COVID-19 outbreak. And if I'm keeping track correctly, it's been about 3 weeks since schools and businesses started to close, so we're pretty deep into this thing right about now. But let me give y'all some context first. So it's currently Lenten season, the period of time that a lot of Christians fast or give up something to grow closer to God, and I'm Catholic, so I fast during this period, and this year, like the last 2 years, I decided to give up social media, so I've been off of Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter since the end of February. So being that I've been spending most of my time lately at home without social media to entertain me, I found myself watching the news way more than I normally do. And what I've taken from watching all that news is that I think the public needs to take this thing a little more seriously. I think people are slowly starting to, but if I had spoken about this a week ago, I definitely say that a lot of people are taking this too lightly or as a joke. And I'm not on social media to personally assess how my peers are treating this thing online, but I do know from hearing stories on the news and talking to some of my friends through text that they think they can't or won't get the virus, and that if they do, that it'll just be fine because they'll be able to recover like nothing happened. And that may very well be the case. But we do know for a fact that older people and those with respiratory issues or a compromised immune system may not be so lucky. So if you get the virus and give it to one of those more at-risk types of people, you're doing yourself, your family, your community, and this country and this world a disservice. The most important thing to note about this virus is that it's classified as a novel coronavirus for a reason. There are coronaviruses that we're familiar with, but this specific strand is new, and it's just now proven to be deadly in humans. So my point is, you may be carelessly out here in these streets, not worried about catching it, but we may find out in the next few weeks or months that young, healthy people are at an increased risk for dying or getting critically ill from this than we previously thought. And another thing is that people are looking at doctors and scientists to have all the answers, which is fair, but they're tracking the data and learning new things about this virus every day, just like us. So there's no way for experts to know precisely all the answers to give us about a lot of what we're asking them. And that's why such extreme precautionary measures like travel restrictions and shelter-in-place orders have been put into effect. Now, you can't blame every person who may be taking this thing lightly because, honestly, just a few days ago, the president had a very lackadaisical tone about this virus. He was just calling it a hoax and saying that everything was under control and that there was no chance for it to become as big of a threat as it has been. And I mean, normally, when the leader of your country tells you that they have an issue under control, you trust them. But we should have known not to believe anything this man has to say, and we see why now, because people are still in the mindset that this virus is not as serious as the experts are warning us it is. But this president has constantly proven to be incompetent and incapable of performing his necessary duties as a leader of this country. But all I can do is stress its severity and encourage you all to stay home as much as you can. And if you have to go out, be wise about social distancing. Try not to touch your face, constantly wash your hands throughout the day, and regularly disinfect frequently touched surfaces like door handles, light switches, the fridge, the microwave, etc. But yeah, stay safe out here, you guys. That pretty much concludes this episode for me. Thank you guys again so much for tuning in. I will be providing similar content on here as I have been posting on my blog. I don't want to commit to how frequently I plan on uploading these podcasts just yet, but more are definitely coming. If you enjoyed this and would like to see more, please share this with your friends and put them on to something new. You can listen to podcasts while in the shower, driving in the car, getting ready in the morning, falling asleep at night, and much, much more. Once again, this is Zoë Huey, and I'll catch y'all on the next episode of CCommentary, the podcast. Peace.